Hi, my name is Luke Ranieri, and today I want to tell you about barefoot running, the mechanics of the foot, and how your whole health, your whole body can become much healthier if you pay attention to your toes. So as for barefoot running, I got interested in this idea in 2009. I was about to go to San Diego to start Air Force ROTC there, and I was still living in Pennsylvania, which is where I'm from originally. The problem I was having is I hadn't done much running or any kind of significant athletic activity since high school, really. Just a little bit, gym class, and I never liked it. I was never much of a runner. But I remember when I was a little boy, I loved to run. I loved to run around outside. I just did it for fun. And maybe because I had to do it for school, it became not fun. One of the characteristics, though, that I guess the theme that'll come back is when I was a boy running around, I would do it barefoot, just running around outside on the grass or on the gravel, and I had no problem doing that. But in high school, of course, had to wear shoes. So I was having trouble being able to run the 1.5 miles that's required for the Air Force physical fitness test and do it in a decent time. I was worried because I wanted to be able to become an Air Force officer. So what I did I loped around. I ran around the canal near my parents' house on the path there, but nothing was working very well, and I was getting pretty discouraged. At that time, I had two big goals. One was to prepare for the physical stuff for Air Force ROTC, and the other was to get my private pilot license. And I did get my private pilot license in August '09, but I brought up this problem just talking and passing to one of my flight instructors, and he told me that there is something called barefoot running. And I was like, barefoot running? What's this about? So he told me about this wonderful book called Born to Run by Christopher McDougall, and so I got the book and I read it cover to cover. Very interesting story. I definitely recommend it. The bottom line stuff for me was the realization that shoes have been the problem. That shoes were really my problem. They were causing a very deleterious effect. So what to do? I decided, okay, well, I'm going to start running barefoot. Now, why does that make sense? The reason that makes sense is because the way that most people run, and even the way most people walk, is not the best way. If you try to run in regular shoes, you, like probably most people, will land on the heel and then you'll pull forward onto the toes, which is also probably kind of how you walk. That's how I used to walk and run all the time. But what if you do that barefoot? Entertain, if you will, the idea that human beings are animals that have evolved to be able to run. We are born to run, like that, the title of that book. Well, if that's true, then the basic mechanics of how we move should be conducive to that, and without any stuff on our feet. So I did a little more research and found out, well, that's really the case. We're not super fast running animals like cheetahs, but we are a long distance running animal, to be sure. So with that in mind, I read more into this, and I found how the shape of the foot is designed to absorb shock. It's one of the most amazing shock absorbers one could imagine, except in perhaps faster running animals. But surely our foot is designed to do that. And the way it's designed to do that, if you imagine my hand is like a foot, is to land not on the heel, but on the ball of the foot, which, if my hand were a foot, that would correspond to right here, the ball of the foot, and land in a slightly what's called pronating effect, which is to go from the outside curling in just a little bit, which is, as that happens, the toes spread out, the foot spreads out, the impact is spread out. Now, if you try to run outside on concrete or rock, barefoot, and you try to run landing on your heel, it's never going to work. You try it for a few steps and it'll not be pleasant. Now try to do the same thing and try to get used to doing that, maybe running on grass, running on sand, and if you do it barefoot, try to land on the balls of your feet, and you notice right away that your feet are absorbing the shock. Now, one of the things that will be startling at the outset, if you try this, and I very highly recommend it, is that your ligaments and muscles in your feet are not used to this. The shoe, what a shoe does, and I'll get a common regular shoe here just to show you, what this shoe does is it restricts movement. It's fairly rigid on the bottom. It's got a thick heel. And why would it have a thick heel? Running shoes didn't used to have a thick heel. It was, in fact, this brand, which happened to invent the idea of jogging just some decades ago, and jogging didn't exist before then. The idea is instead of running and sprinting, which if you ever try to go sprinting, you're almost certainly going to do it landing on the ball of your feet. Imagine, for example, that say you're a father or a mother and your child's in danger across the street and you have to run to save it without thinking. You're just gonna go. That motion, the way that you would react in that life or death situation, is the most natural kind of running, and that'll almost certainly, just by doing that, automatically you'll land on the ball of your foot, hopefully. Now, what shoes like this will do is they encourage a heel strike, which is a lot like how people have learned to walk in shoes. But again, if you try to run barefoot, heel to toe, it's not going to work very well. Certainly not on hard surfaces. And the place where, according to research, human beings have evolved, the African savanna, that is a very hard surface, just about as hard as concrete. So we are certainly capable of walking and running on all sorts of surfaces. So I got very interested in this. One of the other things I wanted to get, which I read about in this book, was something called Vibram Fivefingers, which is Vibram. It's an Italian brand of shoe. They made them as a boat shoe with little toes to help for traction. And then they found that people were very interested in using this as a way to transition to barefoot running. It's basically just a glove. It goes around the toes. So it's like a glove, basically, for your foot, with various forms of traction, which can go onto the bottom. And I thought that was a wonderful idea, exactly what I needed. In the meantime, I was getting the bottoms of my feet tough again to be able to run on gravel and grass and concrete again. And I remember the first time I tried to do that, I got maybe 100 meters. And the day after, the soreness in my calves, my ankles, and my feet was incredible, because all of those muscles and ligaments, which, although they're designed to do that, hadn't been used properly in 10 years or so. So I realized that this is, well, I gave it a day. It took a few days for that soreness to go away, and I was able to attempt running again and again and again. And I got to be a fine runner, and I had no problem with the physical fitness test some months later. So that was how I started on this, and I got to love running, and I became a pretty decent runner, much better than where I was. And that also helped to get me very interested in athletics and physical fitness, which have also changed my life, and I'll make more videos about that later. So I realized, though, I had a problem, because I was still encountering something where I was getting blisters, or my toes were definitely having a problem, because I won't really show you my foot now, but just to show you my hand, the way, if you can imagine my hand as my foot, something my toes are doing is the fourth toe was curling under the third, and this one was also curling really in like this. And so this action, this compression, this overlapping, well, that's not good at all. The Vibram Fivefingers were helping, and going barefoot in general, which is most of what I like to do. I really prefer just running barefoot on all surfaces, and instead of wearing the Vibram Fivefingers. So, and that was very helpful, but I still had that problem, and I was wondering, how can, just a little while ago, just a week ago, and I was really starting to wonder, what can I do about this? There must be something better. Now, I've had something for a few years, which are little silicone pads. You can, 4 of it for each foot, to slip between each of the 5 toes, so 8 of them all together. And that was really great. When I would do that, I wouldn't get blisters between my toes, no matter what I was doing, hiking, running, wearing dress shoes, no matter what. So especially if I had to do a lot of hiking or walking or something, I would always make sure, or running, I would always put those between my toes. And that would seem to help. But I had this subconscious feeling that was bothering me, that I knew I wasn't getting exactly what I needed. So I did what I should have done a while ago. I Googled it. And then I found something. So something which is called correct toes. And just to warn you, I'm going to put my foot in your face. So here it comes. What it is a silicone, medical grade silicone insert that goes between the toes and separates them. Not unlike what I was putting before, except those were individual. When I would wear those for more than an hour, they would tend to slip out from between the toes, especially from the fourth toe, the one that's been giving me the most problem on both feet. So these are designed to be worn with, they can be worn with toe socks. These are Injinji brand toe socks, or they could also be worn inside shoes, and you just wear them barefoot. I most of the time wear them barefoot. Now I found out about this thing, it's called Correct Toes, invented by a podiatrist named Dr. Ray McClanahan, just last weekend, just a week ago. And I realized this is exactly what I wanted, exactly what I was looking for. And so I went ahead and I got them right away. And one of the issues that Dr. McClanahan talks about, and I'm going to give you some links to his videos so you can see for yourself, if maybe his videos will convince you too, like they convinced me immediately. One of the problems right away is the traditional shoe, and let me get out my old sneaker here, is not designed for this. One of the problems I was aware of for years, thanks to the Born to Run book, was that this thick heel is bad. Another thing that's bad is, in general, a thick sole. And why should that be? You think, well, padding should be good, should protect the foot. Well, it's funny that we have the hobbits, which are these characters which walk around without any shoes at all and don't seem to need it. They have, of course, fur on the top of the feet to keep them warm, and otherwise thick soles. Well, human beings actually can and have evolved to be able to walk in, at least as long as it's not freezing outside, can walk on pretty much any surface. It just takes a lot of care and a lot of attention. Eventually becomes second nature. Just like learning a sport, just like learning how to drive, it's a matter of proprioception, a matter of the connection between the brain and what you're doing with your muscle memory. So having a thick sole is not good, because what that causes you to do is imagine that this sole of the foot, of the shoe, which is very thick, is telling something to the brain. Now, our brain is not something that evolved over the course of millions of years to wear shoes. The brain evolved along with our feet to walk simply on the ground or other surfaces. And in doing that, say it's a soft surface or a thick surface, or you're stepping on something that's a little above the surface. In all those cases, whether it's sand or mud or stepping on a wobbly rock, what the foot's going to do is kind of try to push through it, especially if it's sand or mud, push through, because if you just put your weight on and think, oh, that's the surface, then you sink down, that's not good. So what the muscle-brain connection is trying to do is search for where the bottom is, search for the stability. If you put cushion on the bottom of the soles of your shoes, automatically what you're going to do is not walk more gently, but more heavily. It completely defeats the purpose of the cushioning. And there's really no way around it, because the cushioning itself causes your body and your brain to automatically want to do this. That thick sole is something that's in the way. Toughening up the bottom of the feet to go barefoot everywhere is possible, not practical. Certainly we have to wear shoes. So what am I going to do? If I got these on my feet 24/7, which I have, I've had them on except to shower for the past week, and I've seen amazing results in how they've helped to separate my toes, then what am I supposed to do? Well, I have, I got this shoe. This was by Ultra, which is designed, it was actually one of the ones that Dr. McClanahan mentions as being good for a barefoot style of running, or a naturally formed shoe, because most shoes are not formed like a human foot. So just for comparison, see this traditional shoe, and this natural style shoe here, see how narrow the toe box, this front part is called the toe box. That was a new term for me also this week. Another thing is that in addition to not having a substantial heel, it's completely flat. If you could see and feel inside, you'd feel that there is no drop between the heel and the toe. In fact, this brand is advertising 0 drop between heel to toe. This has a significant drop of at least half an inch, if not more. That doesn't sound like a lot, but surely some of you have heard about women wearing heels for a long time while their life end up getting serious foot problems and knee and back problems. Well, guess what, guys? You're wearing heels too. Now, it's not as pronounced right away, but just imagine the effect over time. And it's significant. One of the biggest problems, and this was the new one for me, I didn't really understand 6 years ago when I started this whole barefoot training what was really missing. I had the Vibram toe shoes, and those are very good, but what I didn't really realize was that how all other shoes I was wearing, which is most of the time for work or whatever, just for going out, were causing my toes to compress inward. It doesn't seem like that much of a problem until you look at a baby's foot, and I'll link you to videos from Dr. McClanahan, who he shows you how, say, the feet of American babies look like basically this shape. So let me, in fact, I'll flesh that out a little bit more. Make a big toe, and then 1, 2, I better count right, 3, 4. So this is this is not a beautiful, hardly beautiful depiction of a foot, but hopefully it'll give us the right idea. And it's sort of, it's actually not that much of an exaggeration, but if this is the big toe, and it's the longest one, of course, and the other toes are supposed to splay out like this, like a tripod. 1, 2, 3 primary points for stability, and then these other 3 toes for articulation. Other animals walk and run this way. So if you instead compress those toes together, instead of having a 3-point balance, there's only 2. It's like a claw. You know, when I started getting into this, I thought, it's kind of like I've been trying to walk on the little claws from bat wings or something. Just some kind of weird image like that came to my head, which wasn't effective in changing my mind about what I was doing, which was wearing completely improper footwear. So with that ends up that just the toe box being narrow is what is causing, according to Dr. A. McClanahan and according to, well, my own sense of logic, is what's causing all of the majority of foot problems, causing hammer toes, bunions, all sorts of foot problems that I had never heard of until I started researching it this week. And I was looking for something like this and ended up getting something way better than I imagined, which was not only the gift of being able to go out and get these correct toes inserts, but also to understand just how damaging this was. And not only a typical running shoe, even dress shoes. So so here's a nice dress shoe, which I used to wear and I will never wear again. Look how narrow the toe is. And it causes the toes to want to compress inward. So there's a loss of balance. And of course, thick sole, thick heel, there's no way for the body and the brain to do what it's supposed to do to walk properly in something like this. And that's a significant problem and was affecting me. One of the things that has been bothering me in particular is my knee. I'm back both my knees a little bit, especially the left. And after I started investigating it very recently, I realized that's why. Because my left foot is yet a little bit more, the big toe and the pinky toe were compressing inward quite a bit. So if I hold up and again, excuse my foot in your face. So my foot here, see my instep goes like here, and my big toe should, in fact, be even straighter than it is now. These correct toes have a cool feature. You can put a shim, see, you can see through it, put a shim through here, through the pinky and the big toe to help correct it even further. So I get this nice trapezoidal shape, this fanning out shape. The So the thing that I realized I had to do was to get new shoes. So I got some sandals. I'm gonna go with sandals like that, keep my toes totally open. Another brand that Dr. McClanahan mentions is Crocs, but I have absolutely zero association with Dr. McClanahan or the correct toes. But this has changed my life because I was able to go running in minimal running shoes, which are here. So there's actually nice foot shape, right? And I've had these for a while and they've been good, but I was doing something called pronation, and not the regular good kind, but a bad kind, where I was running and walking like this, which is, instead of kind of toes pointed more forward, like the big toe should be basically pointed straight forward when running or walking. And I've been doing that. And my knees have been having trouble. And recently when I had the chiropractor help to adjust my knee, he was helping to twist the tibia bone back into place. And then when I watched him do that, I realized, he's knocking it back into place so that my toe should be pointed forward. Maybe my toe should be pointed forward. That's really what got me thinking about all this recently, and I'm really glad I pursued it, because this is going to change everything for me. When I went running, usually when I go running, I've experienced at least a little bit of pain in my knee, and I didn't. And then when I went running again, I didn't feel that pain. And every time I've gone running, I hadn't felt that pain, and I've consciously been thinking about, okay, now that my toes are finally fully splayed for the first time since I was 1 year old, train myself to run with my big toes pointed forward and no pain. It doesn't feel like my knee is going out of adjustment anymore. It's incredible. It has totally changed my life, and I'm going to give you a link to a companion article that goes with the video, and also links to other videos from Dr. McClanahan and to Correcto. So if you're interested, this is something that I think everybody needs. The people in the world who don't have good footwear, or none at all, Aboriginal places or tribal peoples, they have just minimal sandals or shoes, they don't have the foot problems that we do. They don't get the runner's knee. Some people, like, as mentioned in the book Born to Run, an American Indian tribe in Mexico called the Tarahumara, they just run in a very minimal sort of shoe, and they run for hours. They go 20 miles every other day because it's fun. They're the running people. And why don't they not get running injuries? Human beings are in fact evolved or designed through the biological process to run. We're not meant to have our feet in coffins which imprison them and prevent us from being able to articulate and move. I'm really ecstatic about this. This is something I just got to get involved with, and I'm incredibly grateful for it. I hope this information was helpful for you too. Thanks.